What's up, family? Welcome back to Let's Brief It, a podcast for law students by law students. I'm your friendly neighborhood law student, Byron D. Brooks, also known as MoSoul, coming from the Mecca Howard University School of Law by way of the class of 2028 and the biggest, the largest, the spine of hustle, Section 3.
And hi everyone, my name is Pauline Irungu, currently an LLM candidate in intellectual property at American Washington College of Law. I'm basically the one trying to keep AI from taking over the world, one privacy law at a time. So, welcome.
No, facts. We definitely need you, Pauline. We definitely need you. I've seen too many movies. But today we're doing something different.
Today, we are not breaking down cases. We're skipping the case books to talk about what actually got us here.
Yeah, so we're breaking down our sales because before the readings, before the cold calls, there was a why. While it might have seemed like at times, nothing about this journey was random. Every challenge, every step, every door led us here, not by accident, always on purpose. And if you didn't get it already, surprise, we're the host and the guest today.
That's right, Byron. Every detour, every late night, every why am I doing this moment, they weren't accidents. They were all leading us here, and today we are unpacking those steps together. And so, let's kick it off with you. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about your background, and then please tell us what was your why for your journey in law school?
Most definitely. So for me, it goes back to the beginning. I was born on Palm Sunday and I was actually born in prison. So my mother was incarcerated at the time of my birth. My family was given like 24 hours for somebody to claim guardianship over me, or I would have been a ward of the state. So in that moment, my great grandparents, the late Roscoe and Joasta Corner, they found it not a robbery to raise me as their own. So anything that's extraordinary about me, I attribute to them, and I take the rest of the slack for the knucklehead that I could be at times. And yes, I can be a knucklehead. But my great grandparents raised me. When I was about 4 years old, my granny taught me how to play the piano. And I hated it until a talent show showed me that girls liked it. I remember I could have been playing like Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but I remember like every girl in the class like surrounded the stage, and I felt like David Ruffin in the moment. When I found out the girls liked it, I loved it, and the rest is history. So majority of my degrees and backgrounds are in the arts and music entertainment business, recording arts, all that jazz. But also, my granny, we had a desk and she used to make me write a lot. And that writing became like poetry, a lot of spoken word. I even battle rap for a little minute too. But that's another story for another day. But then fast forward, eventually I went to community college and I'm first year in high school, college, grad school, and now law school. At the time, I was living with my mother, and my mother did not believe that school was for me. So she gave me an ultimatum of either dropping out of community college to go work at a factory to bring in more income to the household or to get out of her house. But my great grandparents, they really instilled the importance of education within my life. My great grandfather, my papa, he was the oldest of 10 kids from Paducah, Kentucky, and he only was able to get a third grade education because he had to go out and work to help provide for his family. So at that moment, I chose education over a house. So I was actually homeless for the entire 2 years while I was in community college. But through that, I've really felt a calling and really wanted to do something and remove a lot of barriers. I didn't want other students to go through a lot of the things that I was going through because I was sleeping in parks, abandoned buildings, bus stops. I was surviving off of bread and water for months at a time. I used to sleep in piles of snow. So I ran for student body president. I became the first Black student body president at Henry Ford College in Dearborn and was able to do a lot of wonderful things. And it was in that period that really molded me into the change agent that I am today and really got me into the realm of advocacy, where people started seeing me and looking at me as an advocate, even before looking at like the legal advocate sense. And then following the deaths of like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, I led protests. I received death threats. These people were like very strong. Somebody literally threw like a speed bump at my house, but didn't let any of that deter me. Was successful in the protest and utilized that protest to establish something called the Big Rapid Social Equity Initiative to bring air to action and addressing a lot of issues that were going on in the city where I went to undergrad, which is Fair State University. And in that, people used to call me like the third good marshal of big rappers because like something happened, anything hate related or advocacy related, they were calling me. I was doing FOIA requests. I was setting up meetings with the police chief and addressing different issues. And then people were like, Byron, have you thought about law? I was like, not really, because I'm first gen. So when I first ever heard about law school, somebody was like 8 years. I was like, yeah, no, not at all. But then not understanding like that's counting like your undergrad and then JD things of that nature. So then I even did my graduate work, but I really have come to a point where I believe that we are the change in which we seek. And I believe like the four words equal justice under law has always had an invisible asterisk, and based on either your race, ethnicity, place of origin, sexual orientation, things of that nature, everybody doesn't get that promise of equal justice under the law. So that's my why of trying to breathe life into those words and to help not repair a system, because I don't believe the system is broken, but I believe it's working exactly in the way it was entailed. But how can we dismantle the inequities within the system and replace them with equity, love, and justice? And shout out to Bill Hooks on the love piece. But I'll stop right there for right now.
Wow, that's really amazing. And you can tell from your journey, you didn't get to law school by mistake. There was a why, there was a level of experience. There are some instances where you had to push through. So, in order to inspire others, what can you tell others maybe who are going through challenges? What was the one thing that kept you going?
Yes. For me, it's more than one thing, it's intersecting things. So, one is my faith. I believe that God is able to use anything from the good to the bad to the ugly to propel you into your purpose. Two is me understanding that my journey is not my own. Even though my granny and my papa has passed away, I believe they're in my cloud of witnesses cheering me on. At every degree, every success that I get, it has their names on there, because without them, there would be no me. And understand like they helped get me to this point, and also understand like one, being unapologetic in the fact that I am more than a statistic. And I refuse to allow any system or society to box me in and tell me what I can or can't do. And being a practitioner of the arts, also like I feel like I was born for this. Like people might not like view like the art scene or the creative scene and the legal scene as being interconnected, but I believe being a lyricist will definitely make me a much better litigator, being able to connect with the people. The only person that can stop you is you. So for anybody that's listening, no matter what you may be going through, what somebody in your family was not able to accomplish or able to do, that doesn't mean that you can't. And just because it hasn't happened in your family doesn't mean it can't happen. So we always bet on so many other things and invest in so many other things. I believe it's very important to be able to invest in yourself, because you could either like sit and be sad about your situation and mourn and do nothing, or you could pray and then go and do work and do action, be consistent to fight and go up against the grain. But now, Pauline, I want to utilize my Uno reverse card back to you. And please, could you just tell the listeners a little bit about you, your background, and your why law school? And I can't wait to hear about like the intellectual property piece, because like saying your intro, I believe that AI might be trying to do some stuff. So let the folks hear a little bit about you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone, once again. My name is Pauline. Every time I do an introduction, I always say I'm the feminine version of Paul. Just add an I and an E. It's funny, but anyway. My journey comes from the streets of Nairobi. I am originally born in Kenya. And I'd start from birth. My birth is always termed as a miracle birth by my mom. This is because when I was getting birthed, I actually had my umbilical cord tied around my neck. And this had to lead my mom to go to bed rest for a really long time. And many doctors were like, you need to terminate her because she won't make you survive. It's either you have to choose between the mom or the child. My mom always deems it as a miracle birth because she used to pray. She's a prayerful woman. And I believe like those are the instances that have led me through everything. And so that's how I got here. And I am here today. She gave birth, but she had to had a C-section. So that is always something that has kept me going because not only do I consider myself as a miracle, but I wouldn't be here if my mom had taken that step, and I appreciate her for that. So, my journey fast forward, my father is a practicing lawyer also in Kenya. So that is what actually led me to have that faith and actually want to help people, because I used to go to courtrooms with him and see how he'd litigate. And this led me to believe that, okay, there's a way you can change the world, and you don't have to change the world by doing something big. You can actually change the world by being in a courtroom arguing someone else's case. And that is how I actually got to want to do law.
Okay, no, that's cool. And I feel like one thing you said, the prayers of a righteous availeth much. So your mother's prayers, they definitely worked, and you were meant to be here in this legal space. So that's dope. But so why IP? Why the IP route right now, your LLM?
Oh, thank you so much. So, the journey that actually affirmed why I wanted to go to law school was having to read an article. And in that article, there was a case instance where someone had been hit. It was a motorbike rider and a passenger. They got hit, and the passenger died, and the rider had an issue. And instead of getting help, they actually went to jail. Both the cops and the rider were actually detained. And in the ending of the article, the parents were asking, is there justice? And so that is what has been holding me to be the voice of the voiceless. But why IP? So basically, moving forward, I've been doing a couple of interning from Federation of Women Lawyers, where I used to do human rights, help people in mediation sessions, especially families who had challenges with custody matters and maintenance matters. I really do love human rights. And then I moved forward, interned at Wanyaga and Jaramba Advocates, where I was actually dealing with corporate stuff. But I used to feel not satisfied in that space. And so I got to change and go to work at the Ministry of Information Communication Technology, basically Ministry of ICT Kenya. And there they were dealing with AI, technology, communications. And so I remember sitting in one of the spaces and actually talking about the AI strategy that upcame, the 2025 to 2032 strategy of Kenya. And I was like, okay, this is really interesting. And that led me to want to learn more about intellectual property. And something that affirmed was losing a best friend. So if you have read the news, there was that period where there was a lot of protest about the finance bill that actually upcame. And so that's how I got to lose my best friend. And my best friend used to say, I love how the world is fast changing and how the world is getting to a better place. And he used to advocate for better resources for people, better even communication. He used to love to help people in the spaces of technology. That's how I also got to learn how to play video games from him, because he used to be a really good player. And that affirmed my resolution to want to do nothing else but technology. And hence why I applied to the current law school that I'm in, because I want to learn about the intersection of how intellectual property occurs. And not only that, but technology, how it gets to intersect both the artificial intelligence, how does artificial intelligence get to affect the legal spaces, and how does it get to change the world as we see currently. So basically, that is how I came into law school. And the why for me right now is the experiences that I have gone through, from the journey from Nairobi all the way to the journey in DC, and the new experiences that are to come.
Thank you for sharing that, Pauline. Also, let's just give first a moment of silence for your friend. All right.
Thank you so much, Myron. And so choosing law school isn't light work, right? It's our commitment, and we all have differences. We all have our whys, both from commitment to our mental space, our emotional space, our spiritual space. So let me get to ask you, what was the deciding factor that made you choose the current law school that you're in, and why did it ultimately make you say yes?
For me, in terms of the deciding factors that made me choose hustle, one, I wanted to be in a space where while being taught the law, I didn't have to explain to my teachers or my peers on how race, i.e., being Black in America, can affect the laws and how it has affected the laws historically. Going to many PWIs from Henry Ford College to Ferris to University of Michigan, and then even working at PWIs like Yale and University of Washington in Seattle before law school. I wanted to be in a place where I didn't have to be the minority, if you will. And then Howard is historically known for creating what we call social engineers. So Charles Hamilton Houston, a true civil rights pioneer within the field of law and former dean of the law school who really transformed the dynamic of hustle. He once said that you're either a social engineer of the law or a parasite to the law. So at Howard, we bring out social engineers who look at it through that social lens, and we are not comfortable with just accepting laws as they are if they are inequitable or provides any type of injustice to any demographic within the country. So trying to push against the grain and do more, regardless if you're at a big law firm, if you're in private practice or public interest or whatever, but like looking at the law through that social engineer lens. And also to be in DC, being at the capital of our nation, we get to see things happen in real time before it might trickle out to the rest of the nation. And I believe that gives us a very unique experience as law students here in DC. What made me ultimately say yes. So funny enough, I turned down a lot of different law schools to go to Howard. For me, it was Howard or bust because I really felt compelled and called to be here during this time. And what really made me say yes is one, we have a smaller class. When you look at other classes, so like our class, we have no more than about 180 people, and that's including our JD and our LLM students within my class of 2028. And so having smaller sections and things for that nature, I believe it allows me to really build those relationships with the professors and not just be one person in a sea of hundreds of people in one section. But also, one thing I love about Hustle is that we're very much more collaborative than you might hear from other law schools. Like when I was going through like Reddit and Google and all this stuff and hearing how people actually like collaborate. There's no like people ripping out pages. We share our notes. I share my notes with my section mates and vice versa. If somebody misses something, we make sure people are abreast to what's going on. And I love that, like, because I believe there's a Zulu proverb called Ubuntu, which means I am because we are. And that's a proverb that I walk with me. And I believe that hustle really expounds upon that proverb of Ubuntu. Now, I would love to hear, like, especially, being international student LLM here in DC now, what has law school actually been like for you? What has challenged you the most and what has surprised you? And how do you stay grounded when things get overwhelming? For those who may not know, at least at Howard, we're about 3 weeks away from finals. So this could be a very stressful time for all of us law students right now. So definitely would love to hear that from you, Pauline. Like, what has it been like for you? What's been the challenges and what's kept you grounded?
Thank you so much. Very interesting perspective, but Howard. So it has been an experience. Coming as an international student hasn't been easy. You find you always come with your cultural background, with how you view the world. Basically, I came in here with how I viewed the world in a perspective of how it was for me back in Nairobi, and then coming here it's different in terms of how you get to learn in the spaces, different in how even information is being delivered to you, different in terms of the culture, the small things, like the little things, including the weather. For example, I've never experienced the cold snow that we experience here, and I also wonder how you actually managed. I see strength in you because During the winter for me was one of the hardest periods. I really got sick and I was having a hard time in my classes because of how the weather is genuinely and how the commuting experience has been. So for me, law school coming here, one of the things that I have seen different is how life gets to shape you, how the law is actually a space where you not only get to help others, but also help yourself and be a voice to spaces that need your voice. And this is why I've been doing this. So the challenging thing for me has been to network, but I am really trying to do that. And I actually have a friend, she's been helping me through this journey. And also the support system in not only school, but the support system outside, such as your social spaces, from having to go to spaces that you feel different. I think also that has been really challenging for me, where you feel like you don't fit in or you are different in terms of even how maybe you might perceive things. But those are the things that have surprised me, aside from the weather, but also how things get to run here. Everything that is running in this space, not in the legal space alone, but the space generally, because it's a new country, as you say, new country, new experiences, different experiences from how you've been experiencing back previously. So yeah, I think this is why a lot of international students advocate for a lot of support to them, because they have it a hard time from adjusting to a new country to also learning how things run in that country and in that space. And for me, how I try to stay grounded is I always talk. I remember one of the key things that we discussed in one of our first episodes was the mental health. And I appreciate because that is one thing that gets to affect us most. So I always talk to my friends, I always talk to my family. We have discussions on a way forward. And like I said, my mom is really prayerful, and so by her praying for us and also her telling us to pray for ourselves has really grounded me. And having community that actually accepts from my mentors. I have a mentor to have sessions with me, asks me what's the way forward, to the support system that I get in school from my advisors. They get to help me to learn more in spaces where maybe I find the load differently, or in spaces where I may not have to understand the law as it is, as compared to someone who actually was born here and has gone through the same legal space. So those are some of the things that have helped me get grounded and some of the things that I'm getting to push through. So yeah, the whole entire experience has been new and novel to me. So it's where I get to learn every single thing every day. So every day has its own challenge, has its own blessing at the same time. So yeah, I'd say now I'm just taking a day at a time. With that, I know we've shared a lot. We've unpacked our whys to law school, and I hope our personal backgrounds help some of the students that are wanting to do law or have been thinking about their law schools. So I'd like to ask our last questions to the both of us. What are your aspirations after law school? What is the legacy that you'd want to leave through your work?
For sure, for sure. For me, the goal is after paying off all my student loan debt and all that jazz. So hopefully working somewhere where I can pay off my student loan debt and build a nest egg. But eventually I plan on opening a hybrid boutique private practice law firm at the intersections of civil rights law, entertainment law, criminal defense, and what I call community liberative justice, which for me is a more intentional verbiage for movement lawyering. And the goal is to branch that off in my hometown of Detroit and eventually spread across the nation. Entertainment and criminal defense will keep the lights on, and the civil rights law and work will be the payment to society and will be for the soul. And the legacy that I want to leave through my work is understanding that we are the change of which we seek. And we do not have to, just because something may be precedent today, does not mean it's right. And it is our job as legal advocates to fight to, again, breathe life into the words equal justice under law for all individuals within this nation.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. So, my aspirations after law school is to leave a legacy whereby I not only help people, I love helping people, but also inspire others. So after law school, I'd like to have a startup that actually gets to encourage and helps people build their spaces, especially in the space of the new green technology, since it's what I have been doing and what I am learning currently. And by that, I'd like to help others get to shape their dreams from dreams such as their arts, like you mentioned, and in that, I'd like to have a legacy where if I look back, I'd say I did my best, and my best is what matters, despite the obstacles, despite the challenges. And so that is what I live by. And the thing I live by most is it's always through God. So I would love to achieve that and help others and also say that I lived it all.
There you have it. So, folks listening, understand that one, nothing about this journey is random. Every step has a purpose, even ones that hurt.
And if there's one thing that we've learned is every step forward carries an intention and it's not by accident.
This is Let's Brief It, a podcast for law students by law students, hosted by the DC Bar. And my name is Byron.
And my name is Pauline, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
The DC Bar law student community strives to engage and support law students before you graduate and expose you to the tangible benefits of joining the DC Bar and DC Bar communities. Curated programming allows law students to participate in leadership trainings, substantive content programming, networking with practicing attorneys in fields of interest, writing opportunities, and other activities designed to expand your legal education beyond the classroom. Make an investment in your legal career by joining the law student community. To learn more, visit us at www.dcbar.org or email communities@dcbar.org.